GM. It is so early. I forgot to add myself to the stage. I forgot to share my screen. This is the intro that you that you get on a early Monday morning. But here we are waiting for one. Going to try to get a couple big boards in before breakfast begins. We are down to the very end. We are down to the very end of this. I've believe I only have 5 of these left, assuming that there are no cancellations. We are very close to the end. The NFL draft now, we are less than 2 weeks away, less than pretty much we're about a week and a half out. And all of this hard work and effort we have put into these pre-draft contests will come to a head here. So if anyone wants to get in, there is still one spot remaining. We did a couple drafts yesterday. Feel like I pretty much like how they came out. Yesterday, of course, was dominated by the Masters. Rory McIlroy getting there, which was fun to see. Whether you're really a big Rory fan or not, it was exciting to see that happen because it, was a fairly historic golf moment. But alas, none of that helps us right now as we try to fill this contest. And we are still waiting for one. I will get the ducks rolling on here. As always, please let me know if the music is too soft or too loud. But let's see if we can get one more in here. I am trying to rally the troops, but the troops are more difficult to rally at 8:21 a.m. on a Monday morning than one might think. But my goodness, one soldier hopped out of bed straight to attention. And we got the 12 hole. Oh my gosh. Well, excuse me. My voice isn't even warmed up for today. OMG is somebody, I don't know who that is, but their username is so recognizable that I notice them every time that I am in here. Other than that, I feel like I've seen Smooth Operator 69, but do not know who they are. And I don't think I know anyone else in this room. But so we're here at the 12 hole. Last draft, when I was at the 9 hole, I took Brock Bowers and then paired him with Drake London in an effort to get a little different. I think I like how that team turned out. I do like trying different things where you're not giving up huge amounts of projection, but you are getting away from some of the standard builds and combinations. We end up pairing players a lot with our first and second round picks who are, completely uncorrelated. So when we can do things to mix that up, I think that helps us when we are building out a portfolio. And frankly, if you're doing single entry, smaller field, 3 max, 5 max, that if you're willing to get a little uncomfortable, you might be unlocking some combinations that aren't being done that are just as good as the ones that everybody clicks on when they go purely off of the ADP ranges. So nothing too out of the ordinary. I'll pull up the draft board. That again, if I forget to keep the draft board up, please let me know. I will not be offended. I know this is likely the better viewer experience is to see the draft board versus to just sit on the other one. It's harder to keep track of everything going on. Jefferson going ahead of one of those 3 running backs is pretty common, but yeah, nothing too strange there. CeeDee Lamb going at 6. Right now, the rankings I have in are the Davis-Matic rankings, which again are pretty much my favorite rankings I've used. They're available on his Patriot I just got busy. And here for the algo bump, best ball on call. Thank you for coming by. I hope it's one of those things. Come for the algo bump, stay for the stream and the content, because you're just hook, line, and sinker bought in. But we'll see what we can do. I'll see if I can keep you if I can keep you around for more than just an algo bump. But Derrick Henry going at 10. Stay to feel bad about the Dolphins, Greg. Thank you so much for coming by. Again, being a Dolphins fan is better when you can suffer with friends. I'll take Malik Neighbors here. Get the nice faller at 12. Always like when I get one of those top 11 at the 12 hole. And then the question is, do I do Gene T or Bowers? I think I'll just do Gene T. I'll do a Neighbors Gene T team this time around. Yep, always happy when the board kind of runs out like that. The first 11 to me represent a tier of their own, and if you get somebody pulling up a Gene T or a Henry or a CMC, then the 12 hole to me feels a little better, because I do like getting one of those elite receivers. I do like Drake London a lot. I tend to, in this case, I could see the argument for going Neighbors, London, but I think the chance that Gene T is just going to be a first round pick in BBM, he's going to get a good landing spot as long as it's average or above average. I think he does get pulled into that first round. But again, this is a different contest from that, and so I don't want to get too hung up on that. But I do like getting my Ashton Gene T shares. What a weekend for Tyreek. Feels like the rumor mill is rumor milling on him again. I haven't heard anything since the police were called to his house. I don't know if anything more came up. I know he had, hit a few tweets. He likes to throw up a peace sign in his tweets every now and then, which, it's so hard to know because he is a little bit of a troll. Like he likes messing with people. So when it's him posting stuff, you got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But yeah, it has become one of my least favorite off-season stories is this Tyreek Hill business. That with the fact that he wasn't very good last year. Pretty sure he's getting another divorce, and the Dolphins trading All-Pro. Dolphins trading All-Pro for draft day articles are swirling. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I would be thrilled if we got a 5th round pick for him, and we could just move on with our lives, because I don't think we're going anywhere with this iteration of the Miami footballing Dolphins, unfortunately. But we will see. Brock Bowers falling to 20 is nice for smooth operator here, going back to back with Trey McBride. It does seem like the market at least is pricing a reasonable enough gap of a few ADP spots between the two. So getting them back to back does feel like Bowers did well. I do love Trey McBride this year. I take him a lot when I'm over here in the 1, 2, and 3 holes, and don't mind taking him there, because there's a good chance for this Scrusset fellow that McBride would not come around. But nobody doing anything too out of the ordinary, which is nice to see. We only so far have one true piss boy, Mac Daddy Shy. I don't know what's going on there, but he now has 3 running backs through 3. Of course, Devontae Adams has rocketed up draft boards, now being with the Rams. Bad Karma going robust RB. So we're seeing some different constructions happening in this draft. But right now, nothing is sticking out that we have to be too worried about a run at any one particular position. No elite quarterbacks off the board yet. I guess Johnny and Futsa and Bad Karma building similar teams. I will pull things up and we can take a look at what we want to do. I am very out on Breece Hall. I do not particularly want him. I would love to go Evans Worthy is kind of my dream scenario here. I know that's really not that exciting of a dream to have, but on a Monday at 8:30 a.m., that is where I am at. I'll take at least one of these elite receivers. So yeah, I think I am going to go Evans Worthy here. I could see, taking a Jaden Daniels. I don't take a ton of elite QB. I don't think this is the draft where I want to start, especially having taken a running back with one of my first 2 picks. So Gene T. Neighbors Worthy Evans, frankly, is one of the better starts I've had out of the 12 hole where it can get a little dicey sometimes. So I'm definitely happy with how the teams are going so far. 5th round at a conditional if he completely balls out. Fine by me. Yeah, it's if he's back to himself from 2 years ago, then I'm going to seem like an idiot saying that I hope we get rid of him. But frankly, when you are such a speedster like him, it only takes losing not even half a step, a quarter of a step, and then all of a sudden you're just like going to end up being a league average receiver. And speed is kind of the first thing to go for a receiver. Yeah, I think he's maybe a little underrated as a route runner. I don't think he's going to go to 0, but I don't know that his game is going to age particularly gracefully. I do worry that if there is a receiver who's just going to fall off the age cliff, Tyreek Hill is, in that. There are warning signs there. So again, it's also, the Dolphins were completely dysfunctional once Tua went down. The season kind of fell apart, but again, there really wasn't a whole lot that we saw to put optimism that things are just going to snap back to normal. So only one true piss boy, Mac Daddy Shy here, takes DK Metcalf. He says somebody told me wide receivers win these contests, and my God, I am going to listen to that. So he is there with 4 receivers through 4. Johnny Sunquest, sort of similar story, takes Saquon, but then goes straight wide receiver. Makes sense. I actually like all of these picks. I like what he's building there. The one hole getting Devonta and Jalen Hurts. Again, that's a nice start. So there's a few teams I feel like they're building pretty well here. Hopefully I can be considered among that crew. But again, you are entitled to your opinion. Joe Burrow does go to the T. Higgins drafter. You do see this sometimes. And, again, the big fault for when the Higgins and the Chase Brown drafter pass. But I feel like that's happening less and less as the big board gets closer to filling. It's become harder and harder to push Burrow, or, you don't see that big Burrow fall like we were seeing earlier in the year. So I'm going to be coming up. Kittle goes at 51. I'm going to be probably in range. If I wanted to add a tight end, it would be Laporta, but probably don't want to do that. I'm going to pull up the board so we can start planning ahead. So we'll see if we get any of these good fallers. I'll sort by ADP. I still like Hubbard. Definitely a little bit of risk with Dowdle being added in. There was some good coach speak on Dowdle that they want to make that a little more of a 1-2 punch than, kind of Chuba being the alpha and Dowdle spelling him, which isn't necessarily what I'd hope to hear as someone with a fair amount of Chuba. But that said, if Chuba falls to 60, I will windmill that pick in. Chris Olave, not somebody I have taken a lot of. Definitely, worried about the concussion, worried about the quarterback play, who's going to be throwing him the ball. let's see what we want to do. I think I'm gonna take Olave. I don't take a ton of him, but I don't want absolutely zero of him. I don't want to become the I do not want to become the Saints, however. I know it is, it can be good to build these team bets. I am a little reluctant to do that. Our friend Buck was on yesterday in a draft with me, and he said that he has Kenneth Walker hidden upside, but would not reveal the reason. And that has had me in knots. What is the potential hidden upside for Ken Walker III? I don't know what it is, but I don't want to miss out on it either. So I will take Ken Walker there. But I think, it's even if we did not have Buck's mystery box looming over us, I do like Ken Walker there. So let me just pull the board back up. We're picking again at 84 and 85. There was an argument maybe that I should have taken like a Laporta or maybe even another receiver, because 84, 85 is kind of Tony Pollard, Jalen Warren, maybe a falling Tracy. So it's not the worst place to end up with your second running back. But I do think if Ken Walker stays healthy and keeps his job, then he's a pretty good deal at 61. How much does no car impact of Olave ADP for you as someone who's already 1 foot out the door on him? So me taking Olave is more that I realized I have very little of him, and that really wasn't like an intentional decision. I just found myself taking other guys around him more than I was taking Olave. It's going to depend who the quarterback is. I don't think it's going to be Ritter. Or Rattler rather. If it's Rattler, then I have made an error, because Rattler was completely incapable of moving the offense. If it's one of the rookies, then I am more excited. I forget who their other option would be there. But sometimes you can see bad quarterbacks target their wide receiver one. And, like thinking back, like Drew Lock, I can't remember. Did he win somebody the DK Millie Maker? Or, I think he was like the highest scoring quarterback in week 17, right? Drew Lock is awful. But even bad quarterbacks can latch on to like a Malik Neighbors or like, a good wide receiver one and pepper them with targets. So as long as the offense doesn't shell up and, and play like, oh, we're going to rely on our defense, we're going to have a game manager. But I don't think the Saints can do that. I think, they're going to be out there trying. Yes, Chad, Locke won someone an even advanced team, if I recall correctly. Yeah. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks for coming by, first of all. And so anyway, that's a long way of saying, like, sometimes the quarterback, if they're just the right level of bad, can actually not be the end of the world for the wide receiver one. Now, the secondary pieces are who suffers in that event. Again, this is my kind of vibesy take on the matter. Please defer to your local ball knower for more nuanced takes. But that's just my view on the situation. Greg, Deontay Johnson effect. Give me that Olave drop. All right, yeah, there we go. Now, see, I hope Olave doesn't go crazy, because I think I literally have like 3% of him. But if this team is the shipper, then go Chris Olave. Travis Hunter at 76. At 76. My God. This team is real. Luther Burden going as the first of the non-TET rookie receivers. That's interesting. His ADP here is so much higher than it is on DraftKings, where he is like pick 106 over there. Really interesting split, especially it's pretty noticeable with Luther Burden. So by ADP, if Momred has 5 running backs, what is going on here? I had the draft board. I didn't even notice this. He takes Hawkinson. There. Man, if I could get Mahomes, Egbuka, I will be, best ball euphoric there, because I would be pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that run out for me. Again, we did get a faller on running back. I would have been able to get either Tracy or Warren here, so maybe Walker could have been someone else. He takes Jalen Warren. I will just go Mahomes, Egbuka. I am losing my voice because I am so excited to make these two clicks, but I get Worthy paired with Mahomes. I get Egbuka as a fifth receiver, and we are off to the races on this team. Momred, however, one receiver through 7 rounds. Will he make it 8? Especially if the wide receiver can consolidate majority of targets. If the wide receiver is an elite target earner, then it's really an issue. Yeah. Yes. This is true. And I think in this case, Olave probably is head and shoulders that guy there. I do like Shaheed, but I do think in this case we could see that kind of role from Olave if he can stay healthy. Obviously, projecting health is a bit of a it is like consulting the oracle and throwing bones. We think we're doing something, but we may or may not actually be talking to the ancients there. Momred, however, when he talks to his ancestors, they tell him wide receivers are our family's mortal enemy. You must take as few as possible. And so he seriously only has Lad McConkey. He said, I need to add Bo Nix to this team where I have nobody who plays within 900 miles of Denver. But you know what? That's what makes best ball great, is that Mo Mared is out there having fun on his Monday morning, just like all of us. And who's to say that his team will not get there? We'll just have to stay tuned. So Baker goes, Kupp goes. This team at 108, I think if I could get like an Njoku would kind of be the dream pick there, or maybe Warren, maybe I could reach up and take Loveland, because there's a good chance Loveland's not there at 132. So we will see. Probably would just like to add a tight end to this team, but if there are none, I will not force it. We will just continue to build it out. I think we have a good foundation with the Mahomes-Worthy connection and the rest of these guys on this team. Mahomes was one of the few clear QB stacking options that I had available, so I am glad that one did fall to me. Mark Andrews, a precipitous faller to 96. Again, had he caught that 2-point conversion, where are we taking him? Certainly not at 96. To me, that lives rent-free in my head, that the Mark Andrews ADP was directly related to a single play on a snowy, slippery Buffalo evening that changed everything. Jonnu Smith goes at 100. That's a nice discount on Jonnu. Would have loved for him to fall to me, but that seemed somewhat unlikely. My boy Cam Scatabo going at 99. Hate to see that. I would have taken Cam as a third running back on this team. He has been a bit of a riser lately. I think there was an article came out about Cam. I don't know, was it Underdog? If someone came out with a video or article, and it's created some steam. I have not seen this video or article, and you can tell because I don't know if it's a video or an article. But I don't need any more Cam Scatabo steam. I am sold. All right, so wow, I cannot believe Njoku's ADP is down to 116. I was taking him at like 99 for much of this process. But if he's available, I think he would be someone I'd add. I don't think any of these QBs make sense. Caleb Williams, that's a nice fall on him, but I frankly do not need him on this team. running back has gotten really gross. I don't think I want to do Charbonnet with Ken Walker. I don't find myself doing that too much. Maybe if I, Charbonnet was a big faller, I would consider it. Jordan Mason might be who I will take if he's available. Certainly a nice drop on Jalen McMillan. I wouldn't have hated that, but I think this team probably needs a third running back more than a sixth wide receiver at this point, as tempting as that is. So let's see what Alex Faded does. By the way, this guy still only has one wide receiver. So he takes the previously discussed Rashid Shaheed. Doesn't feel great taking Mason here because you were able to get him in the 200s earlier, but I don't know. I have some serious concerns with Pacheco. I think Mason at worst is likely to be the goal line back in Minnesota, and frankly may be kind of the first and second down back as well. I know those are not particularly high value touches, but as a third running back, they are going to be hitting my lineup at least on the bye weeks, and I don't really want them to be a pure contingent upside kind of player. But so far the team, we got Mahomes at QB, Gene T, Ken Walker, and Mason at running back, Malik Neighbors, Xavier Worthy, Mike Evans, Chris Olave, and Egbuka at wide receiver, with David Njoku rounding out the team as our lone tight end so far. Momored, however, finally capitulates and makes Michael Pittman Jr. his wide receiver too. I don't hate Michael Pittman there. I mean, we were taking him super early, and frankly, if A. Rich wins the job, then I think Michael Pittman should be going earlier. But we're all just kind of over Pittman. The back injury stuff was a little weird, so there's definitely enough questions to justify his fall. But I do think there are some tail outcomes where Pittman is actually a pretty good pick this season, but we will see. Jordan Love goes to the Jaden Reed guy, so nice to see him get a good home. Jordan Reed, a guy I don't have a ton of, but that's really been a function of not having a lot of Jaden Reed. That might be bad. Love and Kraft is a stack you can build at various places, especially around this left side of the board. Probably something I will look to do more in BBM. I kind of missed the bus in the big board on that combo, but certainly makes sense. Now we're starting to see QBs going kind of thick and fast. So he does get Fantasy Bones does get the Love Kraft combination, which is nice little stack that you can build there, especially with the uncertainty in Green Bay. Every year we think Green Bay is going to take a receiver in the first round, and then they don't. So if they don't do that again, Tucker Kraft might be in for a pretty good year. He could end up with a lot of targets heading his way. Now, my question: what do I do with my turn? I think I was going to say, if Hollywood Brown was there, I would certainly take him, adding him to the KC stack. We do not get that opportunity. I kind of want to take another quarterback because where am I picking next? I am picking 156 and 157. And by ADP, if Young and Ward go, then I am pretty thin. So I think I do want at least one. I think I want at least one quarterback here. I will just take. I think I'll take CJ Stroud. Don't love taking Stroud naked. Don't love generally taking naked pocket passers. A little bit of a conundrum here. I think I'm going to take Jaden Higgins first, and then I am going to take Bashel Tutin, and let's hope Mahomes is good. That's what we're going to say. We're going to hope Mahomes is good. Worst case is I'll add like not worst case. Worst case is that all the quarterbacks go because people can get giga thirsty. You really don't know what people are going to do. But I did take Mahomes fairly early. He is, theoretically an elite quarterback. He's definitely elite on the field. Is he going to be an elite fantasy producer? We will see. But I did make that bet. So if this team is going to be relying on Mahomes, then maybe I need a few more high upside swings with Higgins and Tootin. So again, more guys, Mason, Tootin, and Higgins. If I put this into that site that shows your CLV, I am going to be hemorrhaging CLV with those picks because all three were available at least at 180 and beyond, if not 200. But you know what? Yesterday's price is not today's price. I do not want to, I don't want to stop taking guys because they were cheaper earlier. Because again, it's not like you don't get a player because you got a player at a bad price. You just get different players. So these ADPs constantly shifting and fluctuating, and I don't want to completely pass on a guy who could potentially be good. With that said, Bashal Tootin, I think, has gotten a little too steamy for me. Generally, I hope he gets good draft capital. But you know what? I do not love this range of running back that kind of goes after him anyway. Looking like a Kendre Miller RB room, headless New Orleans stacker. I wish I had any faith in Kendre Miller. I feel like it's going to be BBM 12. And we're going to be saying, did you see Kendre Miller got signed to the practice squad in Detroit? That's, it's going to happen. It's going to happen this year. I don't know. The fact that when the coach got fired in New Orleans, his last act was to put Kendre Miller on IR, who was actually healthy or only needed a week because he was so sick of Miller being injured, is one of my favorite things that's ever happened. It's like, bro, I'm healthy. It's like, no, you were hurt the entire time I was working in this god-awful place. You're going to go on the IR and you're going to like it. I don't know. I have a really hard time with Kendre Miller. Penix, the Penix drafter drafts him naked and then gets Kyle Pitts, which is a pretty nice run out for him. I'm saying getting Kyle Pitts is a nice run out. It might not actually be a nice run out, but we will, we will see. So Young and Ward go, as I had feared could happen. And now we have a whole bunch of steaming garbage available at quarterback. Not great, folks. I was hoping I would get at least one of them, but I did not. So let's see. Let's see what we want to do. Do we want to take the chance that A-Rich wins the job? Do we want to take naked Geno and then take Trey Tucker as a fig leaf later? Unclear. I will probably take one more running back. This is a little bit of a fall on Ferguson. I'm not really super excited about Ferguson. I take a ton of these rookies. I think I'm actually going to take Ray Davis here versus the rookies, and I'm going to take Geno Smith. I know, again, taking unstacked pocket passer not fun, but I do really like Geno. I think he's way too cheap. The Raiders are going to be better. Geno Smith is a good dome quarterback, always has been. Again, I read somewhere that we do not take enough when it comes to weekly contests. We don't take enough unstacked quarterbacks, and at the end of the day, in the playoffs, this is 3 weekly contests in a row. So if you guys need a nugget to justify drafting an unstacked quarterback, there you go. I don't know who said it. They sounded smart. It may have been sacrilegious. They definitely were more intelligent than me. But But again, that is a long way to justify taking Geno Smith, because I do want my QB2, especially because my QB3 is likely to be like a Dart or Milrow type to be at least playing professional football in the United States. So pull the board back up. Let's see what our friend MoMA Red is doing. He has been just just hammering receivers. So this is someone who may belong to the cult of Gritty. The cult of Gritty. It is unclear. Gritty has many disciples. They are legion. They love him. They cheer. He has adoring fans. But what they don't do is draft wide receiver early. And MoMA Red is living that life. I am hoping this draft can go a little faster. I really wanted to do 2 of these this morning before Pete comes on with his best ball breakfast, because I do not want to be streaming at the same time as Pete for many reasons, but not the least of which is that he allows us to post these streams in his self-promotion channel. So I would feel kind of like a jerk if I promote my stream and then I am streaming at the same time. Just as a matter of principle, not that I am arrogant enough to think I could pull viewers away from Pete. I do not think that, but just so I may fire up another one before this one concludes. Maybe around the 17th, 18th pick, I will hop in another and try to get that rolling. Looking to see if anything particularly noteworthy happened. Can't say that it has. A-Rich still has not gone. Definitely a little bit of worry that he could lose the QB competition to Daniel Jones. But again, I kind of go back to the view that, if he loses the QB competition to Daniel Jones, he was going to be terrible anyway and was going to get benched. So, I think there is a risk that we're double counting the Daniel Jones thing, because again, if he cannot win the job from him, then it was just simply never going to happen for Geno Smith this year. All right, let's see. I will pull this up. DJ Giddens is falling, which is a little bit surprising. Giddens, I think, is a good pick. Braylon Allen's a good pick. J.K. Dobbins has fallen so far. Tyler Algier, one of the best contingent upsides on the board. I would not mind a tight end. I think Brenton Strange would be someone I would be interested in taking here. But we will see what is available to us. MoMA Red, completely unpredictable what they're going to do. I would normally say that person with one tight end might take another, but he probably needs receivers so badly he won't. Yeah, Juwan, we're going to go all in on the MoMA Red does take Strange. Banging the table for New Orleans stacks. That is, and I am nothing if not a man of the people. So let's see what we can cook up here. I don't know if I want to take A-Rich. Now I'm scared. Now it's nobody wants him. Do I want to be that guy? But I do think with Geno and Mahomes, if ever there was a team where we could do it, let's look at the tight ends. I don't need Hunter Henry. I'm not afraid of passing on Henry at this point. Do I want Braylon Allen or Tyler Algier? I have been kind of alternating these guys. I'll take Braylon Allen. Algier obviously has massive contingent upside if something happens to Bijan. But with the steam about Brees, Brees being a little bit of a he's tweeting pictures of a monkey smoking a cigarette, looking at a cell phone, clearly just there's a he's definitely amused by the by the whole situation in the chatter, and I don't know, the vibe is weird. The vibe is weird, and so I'll take Braylon Allen there. But going back to the A-Rich, adding him there because I do have 2 locked-in starters, and A-Rich, if he provides me some spike weeks, great. If he's a 0, not great, but at least I took a little bit of a swing. Maybe there was an argument that I should have pushed it and tried to take one of the rookie QBs in hopes that I spike the Saints guy, but that feels potentially slightly thin, and I did get a small value on A-Rich. Okay, so let's see. Pulling up the board. I think after this next pick, what I will do is I will fire up another one. If anyone wants to hop in, they are more than welcome to do that. But I will give some warning before I hop into that. I will not try to sneak in. I am not yet at the point of streaming where I where I'm trying to hide from the people and sneak into rooms so that I don't get sniped. I do not care. I do not care about that happening, and frankly, I prefer to draft with you all. I like drafting with you guys. It's more fun. It gives me something else to talk about. I can go over your team, which you may be like, all right, this is I'm getting really good commentary on my team here. Xavier Restrepo going at 195. A guy I was taking a lot of early, but again, is he a dog because he ran through a hamstring injury, or is he a dog because he is slow as a dog? We do not know, but we will find out soon. So coming up, I definitely need a tight end. I will queue up Juwan Johnson because, I mean, why not? Why not? And then let's check the wide receiver situation here. Being that we are at the point of the draft where ADP does not matter a ton, if I can add Trey Tucker to this team, I will, feel a little better about the naked Geno. I know it is just kind of a fig leaf, but Trey Tucker, not a bad player, right? I think he's still, potentially going to have a role. But there is certainly risk that the Raiders add somebody to that team. But as of now, Trey Tucker, the deep threat, he had a few spike games towards the end of last season. He returns kicks, which, it doesn't do a whole heck of a lot for fantasy, but it does keep them active on game day and keep them involved. So I will add him to the queue, but do I want AD Mitchell because I took A-Rich? That is a question that I will have to answer. I probably would rather have AD Mitchell here. Again, I think, I end up with more AD Mitchell than I probably should or need. But I do think that if I can make that stack, there's a pretty good chance Trey Tucker comes back around to me. And if he doesn't, then, well, he doesn't. What can you do? All right. Alex faded. Winding the clock. Takes Tolbert. So I will take Juwan Johnson for the people, and then I'll just take AD Mitchell. Take AD Mitchell there. Okay, so I need a wide receiver and some tight ends. Yikes! It is gross over here. All right, I'll queue up some tight ends. Taylor, Royo, Chig, sure. Why not? Michael Mayer. Maybe he's who you need stacked with Gino. So let's see what happens. Hopefully we get one of them. And I am going to hop over to another draft to try to get one in before Pete goes live. So if you want to hop in now. Waiting for 7. Waiting for 7 if anyone wants in a second. All right. So I will pop back over to this one. Hopefully that fills early enough to where I don't have to cut things short, or it ends up bumped up against best ball breakfast, where I will be, hanging out as a dispassionate observer. So Brashard Smith, Mike Williams, Isaiah Bond. Okay, so Isaiah Bond goes, which makes me happy because in these ranks I forgot to drop him down to the Shadow Realm, and I auto drafted him. I was on a rant in the Davis Maddock Discord and the Golf Channel, and forgot that I was in a DraftKings draft with 2 picks left, and came back and I had autoed Isaiah Bond, and I was despondent because I'm very worried about him at this point. It is now reaching Jermaine Burton level bad vibes. A little more off the field stuff, some turned himself in for an arrest. It's getting not great there. We've gone beyond like boasting about a 40 time and into some concerns that could potentially keep him off the field, or keep him from getting any kind of draft capital or opportunity. So I'm starting to be afraid that the 00 in 007 is actually how many fantasy points he will provide your team this season. This team for me, though, is a little unusual in that I am not taking a running back as one of my last 2 picks. I find myself doing that very frequently, and so I am glad I did build a little different, because so many of my teams end with a Raheem Sanders, Juwan James, Jarquez Hunter. Like, I'm just clicking one of those names and hoping. Whereas this team, I ended my running back room with Braylon Allen. So it's, again, I'm not saying one way is better than the other, but I don't want to do one of those builds every single time that I am building these teams. So I will go back over. Derek Carr, still available. It's such a shame. I hope he plays this year, because I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap. I don't think he's like a terrible quarterback. The Saints were a really exciting team for 2.5 weeks before everything just completely spiraled off the tracks for them. All right. We wait with bated breath for Momored here. He could have been great with Kellen. Yeah, there's so many alternate realities in the NFL that we have been denied, and that is one of them. David Carr, right? If David Carr doesn't get drafted by the Texans and thrown behind the worst offensive line ever, maybe he's a good player. You never know. But he went to one of the worst situations in the history of football, and never recovered. So you know what? Why did I do that? I did want to go over the team. Sorry about that. Before I hop over, there's waiting for 2 in that one. So we got Mahomes, Geno, and A-Rich at QB. Running back room of Gene T, Walker, Mason, Tootin, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen. Wide receivers of Neighbors, Worthy, Mike Evans, Chris Olave, Egbuka, Higgins, A.D. Mitchell, and Trey Tucker, with tight ends of Njoku, Juwan Johnson, and Mason Taylor. For a 12-hole draft, I like how this team came out. And perfect timing for us to start this next one. This time again on the right side of the board, not all the way over, and I get the 10 hole. So, all right, we get to switch it up. Mooncat. I know Mooncat is somebody in the Maddox Discord. I see Mooncat here. I know that's one of you. All right. So we're starting in 22 seconds. Starting in 22 seconds. Please give me one moment here. Oh, Greg, it's you. It's me. I am an idiot, Greg. I'm sorry. I've tried to keep track because there's a lot of people who don't have the same name. I do need to remember that because you've been in a bunch of these. I'm like, I know who this is. Why am I, and you probably should have been the first guess. But I have failed. I have failed miserably. Give me 1 second. All right, I am back. So, turns out when you start sending your child to daycare, you just get a perpetual cold. I've had a cold since November. I don't even know what it's like to be able to breathe out of my nose unimpeded anymore. I bet it's the greatest feeling on the planet. I hope somebody tells me about it one day so I can imagine what it's like, because I simply have not been able to experience that feeling in months. But one day this cold will end and I'll be streaming and people will be like, who is that? Because my voice will go back to normal. But they say that the slightly nasally voice is what people tune in for. So it's getting old having this cold. I'm not gonna lie, folks. I am excited for the day to breathe again. Mooncat taking Jay Gibbs at 4. Makes sense. I don't know why I called him Jay Gibbs instead of Jahmyr Gibbs, but alas, Jay Gibbs. Jay Gibbs it is. So Neighbors goes at 7, a little ahead of ADP, but again, opinions vary on these receivers. Nothing wrong with switching them up. Interesting that BTJ has flipped Amon-Ra. A little surprised to see that. I'll take Brian Thomas Jr. here. Again, this is a place where having like draft caddy overlay or best ball overlay would be helpful, because I would probably have just taken who I have less of at this point, because I literally am agnostic as to which one of those two I get, and I just want to end up kind of balanced with how those pan out. Rob Farley winding the clock down. He apparently is not trying to get this done before best ball breakfast begins. We'll see. So Bowers goes at 12. Bowers and Brown. All right. So yeah, the Bowers steam is coming. I guess there was an argument if I wanted Bowers, I could have taken him at 10 there, but thought maybe he'd fall. This could be another Gene T team. This could be a BTJ Drake London team. Let's see what Rob Farley, who so far is autoing absolutely brutal stuff on so many levels. When you have an auto drafter adds 10 minutes to a room, and an auto drafter sucks up all the ADP value, both of which are exceedingly annoying things to deal with. But we will see if Robbie Farley is autoing or not. The one thing you occasionally can do is when you're next to an auto drafter is, if they're really, you can tell they're not going off of ranks and they're going off of ADP, is you can sometimes stick them with players or positions that they already have too much of. Like if you're between two players, but if you take the player at the top of the queue, the next player down's like another quarterback, and you don't need a quarterback and they don't need a quarterback, you can stick them with a quarterback. So, maybe it's a little too galaxy brained, but sometimes you can manipulate the auto drafters team. Again, maybe not player take wise, but at least you can structurally sometimes kind of put them behind, and maybe reclaim a little of the value there. CMC going all the way at 19. That's a nice fall. There. Our friend Greg takes Trey McBride. That makes sense. Love getting McBride in the second. I think he's he represents, him and Bowers really represent sort of the A tier, and then after that you can divvy it up. Those two are clearly head and shoulders above the rest as far as tight end projections. All right, Bucky goes to the Saquon drafter, going robust RB there, and Ashton Hollow at the 1 hole goes double elite Bengal. So if somebody wants to ruin Ashton Hollow's day, then they should take Joe Burrow. Because if he does not get Burrow, I'm sure he is going to be very, very unhappy with how things ran out. Doc takes Mike Evans, so Mike Evans goes to the Bucky team. I mean, the team stacking has really taken root here. And again, our friend Greg takes MHJ to pair with Trey McBride. So we are, we've got the Cardinals, the Bucks, and the Bengals team stacks already forming through 3 rounds. Very interesting stuff how the meta is now. I'm not just saying that because of this one draft, but you do see more players realizing that big bets on teams can end up paying off when you're hitching your wagon to a good offense. That can be a really strong way to build a roster. So let's see. I am coming up by ADP. It's a whole heap of running backs I'm not particularly interested in. Man, let's see. Not sure what I want to do. I'm so sketched out on Kyron, and maybe that's bad. Okay, so I don't have to make the Kyron decision. Not really sure what I want to do. I think I am a Worthy over Adams guy. I think I am. So I'll take another Worthy share here. I have a lot of Adams already. I know I have a ton of Worthy already, but I think if you made me pick between the two, I still would prefer the upside on Worthy. His big playability is really unparalleled, and I think the Chiefs' defense might take a small step back. I'm not saying they're going to be bad, but they may not be elite. So you could see some better game scripts for the Chiefs. I have been making that bet somewhat. Let's see what comes around to us here. I know the FUD on Chase Brown is real and it is palpable. So I could definitely see him falling to me. Omarion Hampton, somebody I would have considered taking there. I think if Devontae comes, I will just windmill that in. But if Rob Farley is autoing, then he's going to get Adams. Again, one of the annoying things here with the auto drafter. But again, if Topaz had taken Devontae, then Rob would have gone Allen Lamar and would be completely stuffed. So, you know what? Speaking of Lamar, let's make this a Lamar Jackson team. I don't have a ton of him. I'll take him. I don't mind if he ends up being unstacked. I don't want no elite QB. So again, when I have somebody autoing, he might end up hoovering up a bunch of QBs, and the room could get weird. So I'll take Lamar here. I've taken a few weeks off for golf and baseball. Very unique start for me. Feels good. Yeah, no, I like your team so far. I did a bunch of the to chase overlay. I did the albatross and the big albatross, and I basically set my ranks for the Albatross to only have guys who were locked in for all 4 majors. And in my big Albatross, I advanced 1 out of 10 teams, and I had 4 second places, which do not advance. It was pretty brutal, including some teams like I do not know how they did not advance. And the fact that they did not advance makes me think that the scoring on Underdog is stupid, because I know I had like a Rory Rose team got second, and it's not like the other players on the team like were bad, but the scoring is horrible. Yeah, it was a bit of a show. And the team that did advance did not have Rory or Rose. It had like, I don't even know if it had, I think it had Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed was kind of the cheat code for those teams. Yeah. 5 of 8 with a 750 for 1. Oh my gosh. That is a monster score. I got nowhere near that. I was in the, my team that advanced had like 622, and the team that didn't, the best team that didn't, had like 633. It was in the big Albatross. In the little Albatross, I did not count up whether I had a good advance rate or not. I got a lot of teams through. I don't know if I got what are you expected to advance there, like 33%. I'm not sure if I hit that or not. But we'll see. I really only did it to chase overlay. I did not have plans on playing that contest, even though golf is my favorite DFS. Okay, it's not my favorite DFS sport. I actually stink at it. My favorite DFS sport is MMA. But I do a lot of golf DFS, but I found the scoring format in this did not reward what I think it should, or what I'm used to the scoring rewarding. So I don't know. At least in the season long, all it rewards is people who are able to construct lineups that are full every week. So you have to basically you find somebody who did the legwork, who just looked up who was signed up for what tournaments, and try to build rosters that just fill out every week, versus like actually caring about who's good or not. It's kind of dumb. I think they really need to go back to the drawing board on that. But anywho, Joe Burrow does go to the T. Higgins drafter. He takes Zay Flowers, who I did not actually think was going to get back to me, but that would have been cool. Pat Mahomes goes at 51 very early. Maybe he thinks Tyreek Hill is going back to Kansas City. Greg taking Ken Walker. He must have heard about Buck's secret reasons for liking Ken Walker. Again, that has just been keeping me up at night. What are the secret reasons? What could they be? I do not know. But let's see. So if there's anybody I want by ADP, I need to take them before good old Robbie double taps them. So let's see. I do think this is a place where I'm going to need to take at least one running back. I think my preference would be Chuba Hubbard here. But we'll see what this guy who already has 3 running backs does. Yes, if I don't take Chuba, he will not make it back to me. So I will take Chuba here. Again, I'm not super worried about Dowdle really splitting carries with him. We'll see if that actually happens in real life. Rob Farley is going to waste 30 seconds of our time to take Jordan Addison. It's a little unfortunate that he's actually getting like a reasonable structure while auto drafting. Topaz had the chance to just ruin him, and instead he's going to end up with like a fairly reasonable team. But again, we'll see. So he takes Olave. This is going to be really annoying if he takes Henderson, because I want Juwan Jennings here. And I would take Henderson or Jennings here. This is really unfortunate, folks. But you know what? That is the game we play. We do not always get what we want, and that is okay. I guess I could also make this a Laporta team, but I think I think I'd just prefer to take Jennings in this spot, assuming he is just autoing off of ADP here. Oh, he's not autoing off of ADP. Huh. I still think I'm going to take Juwan Jennings because I like the running backs that I can get there. And I don't know if I'm is inclined to take the mystery box here as ending my my first 4 receivers with Jennings. I do like him quite a bit. All right, so Laporta goes next, and Henderson, I'll pull the board back up. But yeah, that Masters ending was something else, and someone had asked on the chat before the Masters, maybe it was the morning of, who I liked, and I said I thought it was gonna be boring, but one of Rory or Scotty would win, and that's what happened. Again, I'm not giving myself flowers here by picking the 2 favorites, but I did think it was going to be one of those 2, so that did help me limit my bets. But I did give Harris English as a DFS sleeper, as a top 10, top 20 bet, and he finished T12 and paid off his salary at $6,500. So I was happy about that. But yeah, I had a Rory outright. DK had like an 18% boost on anyone, and I used it to boost Rory to like I think like a little under 8.25, like, so he was like plus 820 or something, and I hit that, and that was nice, but it was way more of a sweat than it needed to be. But it was fun. It was definitely fun to watch, because when he was up 4, I was just like considering changing the channel, and then he tried to lay up, and when he laid up on 12, or was it 12, or was it on 13 or on 15, and put it in the water and made a 7. That was brutal. Feels bad for Rose. Thought this was his year. I can't believe. I've always been kind of neutral on Rose, but I really gained so much respect for him. I mean, he fought to the bitter end, right? Like, once he was first round leader and faded, I was like, okay, we're gonna, Rose is gonna finish this at like, T28, whatever. Like, he'll be the answer to like the trivia question of, who is the first round leader at the, Rory Masters in 2025. But yeah, he's back. He's, apparently by all accounts, like, put the time in to get his game back together, because he was really bad for a while, like on tour. Like, he was missing cuts, and seemed like it was kind of over. And it's awesome to see a guy in his 40s like competing, especially at Augusta, which is so long. That was cool. It would have been cool for him to win. It would not. I can't say I was rooting for him, because I min cashed my DFS stuff with a 4 of 6 lineup, and if Rose had won, I would have not cashed, because I had Rory in those lineups. So selfishly, I was rooting for Rory win, but had I not been, I probably would have been rooting for Rose. And that putt on 18 was incredible. I can't believe he made that. That was that took some serious moxie there, because that was a long putt with all the pressure in the world. And then Rory kept answering, which again, that was so much fun. That was a really fun tournament. This is a reasonable fall on Ricky Pearsall here. I wish I was a little more. No, I'm going to take Pearsall. I'm going to have Pearsall and Jennings on this team. We'll do it. And then my next pick will be a running back. if the next 4 picks in order are Caleb, Jones, Warren, and Pollard, then I will obviously regret taking a 5th wide receiver before taking a second running back. But I have a feeling I will end up with at least one of those guys, but we'll see. We'll see. If not, then maybe I would take Mark Andrews to stack with Lamar. But okay, so Brandon Ayuk goes. So I will get one of my running backs. I think of all these running backs, Tony Pollard's actually my favorite. As I mentioned before, I think there's a pretty good chance that the goal line role and possibly more is going over to Mason, which makes me very nervous about Aaron Jones. And Jaylen Warren's fine. I guess I would take him, but Pittsburgh is going to add somebody. It's just a matter of who and what kind of role they take away. So we will add Tony Pollard to this team. All right. The auto drafter takes Luther Burden. There goes Warren. So let's see, Greg, what have you been doing? You added Kyler. Okay, nice. So you did not risk Kyler falling, or you did not risk Kyler getting taken before at 93. Certainly understandable when you have made such a large Cardinals bet to just take him there. Certainly see the wisdom. I think if it were me, I probably would have waited and said, well, worst case, then I'll get Caleb to pair with Rome. But obviously, I think I play that kind of 50-50 in your position there. So I certainly like the team that you have been building here. There goes Egbuka at 89. So again, this room was a little different. Last time we saw Luther Burden as the first of the kind of non-Tet rookies, non-Tet, non-Hunter rookies going off. This time Golden goes first. It goes Golden, Burden, Egbuka. Caleb goes at 91. So, Greg, maybe you were right all along, because the guy who has Jaden Daniels and took him early could not resist the second quarterback and had to pair DJ Moore with Caleb. So maybe that was good board awareness, knowing that the Moore drafter was to your right over there. Josh Downs at 93. Jared Goff. So all right, let's see. I think I do want to probably queue up Bateman so I do not forget as I think of it. Hopefully we don't have some kind of star method catastrophe on this team. Christian Kirk going at 95. So nothing really too out of the ordinary happening in this room. I do have to say, everyone's kind of building somewhat standard. We've got 3 teams here in a row who don't have quarterbacks. I guess this T. Clar 29 guy has 4 running backs, 4-4 and 0-0 there. Don't necessarily love that particular construction, but I think on an individual basis, I don't really mind the players they've been taking. Who Hames, welcome. Thanks so much for coming by. Really appreciate having you here. Trying to get through a second draft before Pete comes on, but the auto drafters are conspiring against me. The wicked 11 hole is there. Rob Farley, my new arch nemesis, is trying to drag this out. But what I think may happen is this could be the Sunday night heat of best ball. In that, I don't know if anyone else experienced this as a kid, but Sunday night heat was the kind of the second tier wrestling WWF show. But when there was a pay-per-view, Sunday night heat would be the lead into the pay-per-view. So it was always way better, and the end of it was always some big cliffhanger, trying to just lure in, the last of those on the fence from watching. So this is kind of the Sunday Night Heat. You can watch this and it will just seamlessly roll into, the main event, the Pete's Best Ball Breakfast. So again, obviously we are not affiliated with Pete. My lawyers are making me make that clear so that nobody is under the impression that this stream is anything more than a completely fly-by-night operation. But yeah, I am trying to get this in before before Pete goes live. I was just drafting half asleep. I forgot I took Bowers. Now have 4 tight ends rip. That's a lot of tight ends, Who Hames. I wish I could make you feel better, but that's a lot. That's a lot there. Speaking of tight, you are the tight end whisperer. Maybe you could help me. I do want Rashad Bateman to stack with Lamar, but if Jonnu comes to me, I gotta just snap off Jonnu, right? Oh yeah, I know. We do so many of these drafts that it's like, one individual draft debacle, cannot ruin things. I think I'm gonna. What do I want to do here? I actually really like Cam Scatabo. I'm taking Scatabo. I'm throwing everything out the window. Forget tight end. But yeah, Jonnu feels good. I would have liked Jonnu if he'd fallen to me. We'll see. I was a little less worried about getting Bateman here as a sixth receiver. I'd probably should take Warren over him. I don't know. I'm a little of two minds, or maybe if I just try to clump together, maybe I take four. Maybe I take 4 tight ends. Maybe that's what happens here. We'll see. Unfortunately, this is the auto drafter, so if he may end up scooping Warren here, and then do I want to go like Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, no Mahomes, have Lamar? I could see the argument for that. I know I went out of my way to bring Bateman up, but I do feel like maybe I should take maybe I should just take Kelce here. I think I'm going to take Kelce here. That's fine. This is going to be a 3 tight end team regardless. And maybe Rashad Bateman will come 22 picks past ADP to us, but probably not. Probably not so. All right. Well, do appreciate you stopping by. I'll go over the team so far. We've got an unstacked Lamar Jackson at QB. We've got Chuba Hubbard, Tony Pollard, and Cam Scatabo at running back. BTJ, Drake London, Worthy, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, and Travis Kelce. Now you may ask yourself, did I draft Jennings and Pearsall with the intention of taking Brock Purdy? The answer is kinda. I did that and I said, I can add Purdy. And then I said, wait, I already have Lamar, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. But what we're going to do on this team is we're going to have, 2 Niners, we're going to have 2 Chiefs, and we're going to have neither quarterback. And we're going to pretend that we are Fareed from BBM 4 and we got sniped on our QB. And that this was all very intentional, and that we are just rolling with the punches because that worked for him to win a BBM. He famously, I think he was trying to get Jordan Love and got sniped, or he got sniped and ended up with Jordan Love, and that's who you needed. I say famously, and then I don't remember the story, but that's the kind of thing you get here, and why, dear listener, you have tuned in. But there was some kind of QB sniping incident that happened with him. Our friend Greg here gets Jordan Mason at 117. Certainly like that pick there. And the aforementioned Jordan Love at 119 again goes to the Jaden Reed drafter. I feel like Reed and Love are probably paired together at one of the higher clips of QB receiver, and it's probably because just the way the board falls and the way there's not really a second receiver to pair with Love that goes, well, there's no second receiver that goes before Jordan Love's ADP, and the ones after, feel like, I guess, a little bit less of a priority to stack with him. Like, if you're people who are adding Wicks are typically just adding him as a sixth-ish wide receiver, and are not somebody who's looking to build out a stack, but somebody who's just looking to build out a wide receiver room. But that's a long way of saying I do feel like the correlation between Love and Reed is probably higher than, say, like Herbert Ladd or Nick Sutton is just how it kind of feels. Round 11, though, fertile ground for quarterbacks, seeing 3 in a row. Yesterday I was in a draft and we had 7 out of the 12 picks in this round were QB picks. But I think for me, Colston Loveland would be a nice add at tight end, potentially a little bit of a youth movement for this team. Let's check the QBs. Michael Penix is still available. I do have Drake London. There goes Colston Loveland. That's a little unfortunate. Lawrence is actually who I was probably going to take to pair with BTJ here. It's a little unfortunate. The 2 guys I was excited about taking go. I think I'm just going to take Michael Penix here as my second QB. I can now potentially stop at quarterback if I want. And I think I would add Isaiah Likely here, and hopefully the auto drafter allows that to happen. If not, maybe I would add a Dalton Kincaid to my tight end room of Travis Kelce, but we will see if that happens. If Kincaid and Likely go, then I will take the wide receiver du jour here of Higgins, Allens, or Harris probably, but we'll see what's available. The auto drafter, again, annoyingly got a decent structure on this team, despite not piloting the ship, not really over leveraged to any one position. But that's the way she goes sometimes. Sometimes you can't auto draft a reasonable team. Topaz takes a tight end. I'm glad he did not take the one I want, because I do feel like Likely is kind of a little bit of an underrated stack partner with Lamar. Likely has proven himself as a spike week kind of guy. He has a role whether or not Mark Andrews is still there, and is somebody I don't feel like I necessarily have enough of. So hopefully Rob Farley does not take Isaiah Likely here. He does not. He takes McCarthy. So somehow he stacks Jordan Addison. So he is running very well for an auto drafter, I must say. So, all right, teams coming together here. We can't worry about what other people are doing, but we can control our own draft. And I feel like we've done a fairly reasonable job so far. Will this draft be done in 18 minutes? I do not know. But so far we've got Lamar and Penix at QB, Hubbard, Pollard, Scatabo at running back, BTJ, Drake London, Worthy, and then a couple of Niners, Jennings and Pearsall, and then Kelce and Likely at tight end. So definitely wide receiver is going to be the next priority on this team. I can hold off at tight end till the end. I may or may not add another quarterback. It seems like this should be a 2 QB team. Much more comfortable personally building 3 QB teams in 20 round drafts, but I also take very little elite QB. So when I do, I do need to limit the third QB, because I don't think that's going to add a lot of value to this team. And just scrolling up, there's nobody I've taken early enough to warrant reaching up for a stack. Like if I'd also had like an early Bowers, I could maybe justify a late Geno Smith, or if I had an early, JSN. I could justify a late Darnold, but none of those situations apply. So I will try to contain myself and just limit this to those two. Tua goes at 141. Let's see. Tua goes at 141 to Greg, of course, who takes unstacked Tua. But when you're a Dolphins fan, you are allowed to do that. I also think that Tua, frankly, goes later than he should. If he stays healthy and the Dolphins return to any semblance of what they were 2 years ago, Tua in the 12th round is going to seem quite silly, whether he's stacked or not. So don't mind there. Oh, your secret is safe with me. I know who is coming in. All right, I wasn't even going to say it, but yes, Westbrook Akine, our 6-foot king. Dolphins historically are scared of tall wide receivers and do not draft them. But they did bring Westbrook Akine in. It's unclear if they knew his measurables because, otherwise maybe they would not have. But, Geno Smith at 147, that is very early, and that's not to the Bowers guy. No, the Bowers guy's on the other side of the board. So, definitely a little bit of QB thirst happening in this room. So I am glad to be done at quarterback here. Let's see what we've got coming up. It is that range of the draft where you start having to squint and tell tales of good things happening to older players and rookie landing spots and the like. I think my preference here would be Adam Thielen by quite a bit. So Adam Thielen goes. Cool. I will just take the slappy DJ Giddens selection here. Asked me to tell the difference in potential draft capital between Giddens and Harvey, and I couldn't, but I do know the two of them have moved up quite a bit, both projected to go a little higher than that last tier of running back. RJ Harvey, pretty big home run hitter. I might try to double tap Giddens and Harvey. I have a lot of Devin Neal at from the 120s, 130s. He's fallen a bit. And so I don't need a whole heck of a lot more of him. Ray Davis is somebody I would have considered taking. Maybe there's an argument I should take Jalen Noel on this team versus a Harvey. But I think Harvey would be my preference, kind of looking at the team. This is a lot of early running back or wide receiver firepower, whereas my running backs is definitely a little more questioned. So we'll bring Harvey in. Again, I don't feel like, trying to build a little differently. I don't think I have a ton of Giddens and Harvey. I tend to end up with one or the other. I suspect a lot of teams are that way. So don't mind adding him. But now I really do need to start hitting running back a little bit harder than I had been. So I will pull this up, and we can see there goes Bryce Young at 160. So Bryce Young does fall, and this very late Thielen-Young combo, you see that in a lot of drafts. We see that here. This guy got kind of lucky because he used, he drafted no QBs until, a late unstacked Lawrence, and then got Bryce Young here. Would have thought he would have taken Strange, because Brenton Strange, I think, is the highest tight end on the board to pair with Lawrence. Maybe he'll get lucky and he'll come around to 177. We'll see. Our Greg takes Jalen Wright. Greg, I have to tell you, as a fellow Dolphins fan, I am a massive Jalen Wright bear. I am very worried that he's just ass. And I don't know if every coach goes to everything at the combine, but McDaniel was at the combine at the running back drills, and he looked locked in. I added that last part about looking locked in. He was actually just like they showed him in the crowd. But I did find, I don't know if there's anything to that, the fact, but our head coach being watching the running backs, I don't know if he would have spent his time there if that was not a position that we're potentially looking to add somebody at RB. So I would not be surprised. And yeah, it's why I like drafting with you. I think he still has a place, even if we take a third round guy. He loves a third running back. Yeah, you like drafting with me because I have Jalen Wright just crossed off my draft board, and it's now you have less of a chance of him getting sniped from you. Greg, I can make you a promise. I will not take Jalen Wright from you. Maybe if he was in a really big fall, I would take him. I might have 2 shares of him out of 150 drafts, but it really might only be 1. I remember taking him once, and maybe I have 2. He is from the Shanahan tree. They can't stop doing 3 RBs. I know. And I think he just, he's like one of us, right? Like he loves this kind of stuff, and I'm sure he gets excited when they draft a running back. Like when the Dolphins draft a safety, I don't care. When they draft a running back, oh, you better believe I am looking up every highlight of that player. I thought Jalen Wright was going to be an absolute smash, and he was not. He was not. It turns out he was kind of a mediocre player. I'd be pretty happy if I could get Jalen Knoll. If this T-Law guy wants Brenton Strange has fallen to him. He did. I will add Jalen Knoll. He's a guy one of those guys you could get in past 200s, but he's steamed up. Frankly, this feels a little late for him. Yeah, he's going past ADP in this draft, so I am happy with that. So I will take Knoll there, and then do I want to take a tight end, or do I want to take another back? Damian Martinez is also here. So I could potentially just go, if Damian Martinez does not go off the board, I could just go giga slap of Giddens, Harvey, and Martinez, which I don't hate. I don't hate doing that. And again, that would, there goes Damian Martinez. So the dream has died, unfortunately. I probably want to take another swing at receiver. Although I am tempted to take like Mike Gesicki here. I don't know. With Kelsey and Likely, I think my third tight end might be one of the really late guys. And I'll just take yet another Jack Betch share as another receiver. I think could get potentially good draft capital. Going 5 veterans and then rounding this out with some bigger swings is, I like how this team is coming together. Yeah, good stuff. So Wandale goes next. Ollie Gordon, another guy. If I could trade all my Ollie Gordon shares for mystery running backs scattered throughout the draft, I would. I have way too much Ollie Gordon. The Patriots game is burned in my brain. He looked good once. Oh God, I have visions of him like running sideways, like not running up and down. Four tight ends is in Who Games. I have done a couple 4 tight end teams. I can't say I've tried it with Brock Bowers as one of the 4. But I am sympathetic to the power of the tight end. My one big board finals team last year was double elite tight end. So, I respect the potential of the tight end hitting the flex. And if double elite tight end is good, you have to think quad elite tight end is better. So I am with you. If you're interested in selling equity in your four tight end team, please please let me know. I'm sure that's I'm sure it's a good one. But yeah, it's it's the new meta. It is the new meta, Who Hames. We are breaking ground here. breaking ground here on this channel. But in all seriousness, I do think, it does make sense to push the envelope on some constructions. Obviously, I know you did not mean to take four tight ends, but we don't know what's going to win. We don't really have, we only have 5 years worth of data in this to draw very broad conclusions. Obviously, four quarterbacks is probably worse than 3. We know 5 is worse than 4. But there are, other areas of how many running backs, how many wide receivers and tight ends, and then, what kind of draft capital you use. I really, the sidekick is trying to solve that. And I think that's a super cool tool that they're building over at Leg Up to do that. And I just like that there's so much mental energy going towards this unsolved game. It is really cool that we are playing a game that's, that there is no solution for yet. Eventually we'll, each year we flip the cards and there's an optimal outcome, but was that predictable earlier in the season? And the answer, at this point is still no. We cannot make those assessments. So let's see, what do we have coming up? I still need at least one running back and at least one receiver. If I sort by ranks, I think I'm going to take a guy I don't take a ton of with Diami Brown. And yes, we are going to go 2 Jags to fit in with the 2 Jags, 2 Niners, and 2 Chiefs unstacked. We're going to do that bit. But, again, trying to make some bets on some offenses and hope that Lamar is the spike week QB, even if those teams go off. I think I kind of backdoored my way into something that I think is somewhat of a good idea, because, if those 2 receivers go off, then we're going to see Lawrence have a good game, but we could definitely see Lamar having a better game and boxing teams out that way. So if this is the one team to get to the finals, then, I've done something somewhat interesting. At least in my opinion, it's interesting. I don't think my wife would find this interesting, but hopefully you all do. So let's see. I think I will add one of these. Yeah, I could do a last round or a late tight end. I think I'll take another running back. Oh my gosh, sometimes this interface just gets me really tripped up. Okay. I haven't taken a Raheem Sanders in a while. I've kind of backed off of that, so I'll take him here. Rashard Smith probably would have been my pick, but I have a awful lot of Rashard Smith. So I will go over the team here, and I click the wrong button. So we got Lamar and Penix at QB, Chuba, Pollard, Scatabo, Giddens, Harvey, and Sanders at running back, BTJ, Drake London, Xavier Worthy, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Jalen Knoll, Jack Betch, Diami Brown at receiver, and then Kelsey and Likely at tight end. I will add one more running back to the room, I think, unless there is a receiver that really calls to me, and one more tight end. And will this get to me before Pete goes live? It is looking unlikely. It is looking unlikely, but I will try to finish this draft up. I am one of the crazies who has DMart over Giddens and Harvey, but I do like both of them. I don't think you're crazy, who Hames, at all. I think there's a tendency for us to, how often does Giddens go ahead of Martinez in drafts? Probably 90% of drafts. How often is he going to go ahead of Martinez in the real draft? I don't know. Maybe 65% of the time. Like I mean, I'm throwing a number out there, but we're probably not. We're probably not taking Giddens ahead of Martinez with the same level of certainty that we have as far as how they're going to go in the real draft. Yeah, so I don't think that's wrong to do at all. Obviously it's going to be a binary outcome. One's going to happen, versus the other. But I think we are drafting them in an order that that may not end up reflecting what happens here. So 7 picks away. Man, if we did not have the auto drafter, we would have cleanly made it here. Unfortunately, looking at the late picks, Sean Tucker goes to our friend Greg. I hope he takes Westbrook Akine here, because he's not always there at 237. Thank you. You made me nervous, Greg, but you got there. You pushed it with the Sean Tucker pick. I'll be honest. I think Sean Tucker is more likely to be there at 220, because I don't think he's drafted every time. But we will always have that 1 week where he was in the optimal on DraftKings at literal 0% ownership. So Rudy goes at 221. The other problem is at the end of drafts, people just queue up people and leave and do not push the plane. And remember, pushing plane is our generation's be kind, rewind. When you return the tape to Blockbuster, just rewind it for the next person. That is pushing the plane for us. I will make these last 2 picks and then we'll clear the way for everyone to go tune into Pete's stream, Best Ball Breakfast. If I knew how to direct people there, my stream auto do it, I would, but I don't, and I'm not going to figure that out in the next minute here. Let's see. As far as tight ends, I think Chick would be my preference, and then I will take one more running back, James Allen. So again, I will just go over the last team review here, so that I can immediately end the stream. Again, Who Hames, thanks so much for stopping by. Greg, thank you for stopping by and drafting with me. Everybody who was here, I really appreciate it. It's so much fun doing these and chatting with all of you. And I've only got a couple drafts left, so we'll be doing this all summer. And I've only got a couple big boards left, so excited. And again, it's been so much fun drafting. I will take Jig Okonkwo, rounds out the tight end room here, and we will take one more running back. Here. Waiting for Rob Farley. Rob, please, sir. I forgot. I don't know why I thought he was after me, so we literally have to wait for 2 auto picks from him, which is just an absolute nightmare scenario. Just for morbid curiosity, QB is available here. Yeah, Jalen Milroe. Joe Flacco's available. He's been getting drafted a little bit. People have backed off of Kirk Cousins now that Cleveland seems to have closed as a potential landing spot for him. So, yeah, it used to be you could get a Shadur Sanders down here in the 19th, 20th round, and now you cannot. So now Topaz is taking his full time. Brutal stuff. And we wait 30 more seconds for Rob Farley here. Again, thank you so much for popping by. Rob Farley, the auto drafter with 4 tight ends. Absolutely brutal. But with that, I will take Jordan, James, end the stream, and I will see you all later. Take care, everyone. Thanks again so much for hanging out. Bye.